new, very different kind of EV startup is changing all that with an EV pickup truck that costs under $20,000 after federal incentives. And here it is. This is the Slate truck.
While major manufacturers like Ford and GM are charging premium prices for their new electric vehicles, a startup based out of Michigan has an incredible breakthrough by creating similar trucks for only $20,000. This is not a discounted amount. This is the entire purchase price. The impact was immediate. The day after this leaked specification release, Tesla's stock price took a 3% hit. This news sent shockwaves through the industry, with Ford executives working extra hours and GM announcing that they were moving their development timelines for their affordable electric vehicles up by 2 years. What is taking place in Indiana at this reconfigured facility represents the systematic elimination of decades' worth of consumers who have been paying inflated prices for vehicles. If automakers claim they're building for the future, why are hard-working Americans like Sarah being priced out today? What happens when the promise of electric progress comes with a 5-figure surcharge? The price of progress. Sarah Martinez entered the Phoenix Ford dealership on a typical March afternoon. She stared at the F-150 Lightning in stunned disbelief at the price, $65,847. But that was not the final number. Before taxes and fees and that inevitable market adjustment adding another $5,000, the cost would balloon well beyond her budget. As a dedicated third-grade teacher earning $52,000 annually, with children to feed and a mortgage to meet, Sarah couldn't help but wonder, how in the world did this pricing strategy benefit working families who were taking the plunge to electric vehicles? Her hand scrolled down the extended list of add-ons. Premium paint, $695, technology package, $2,500, heated and cooled cup holders, $800, and another $800 for additional cup holders. Heartbroken, Sarah departed the dealership and boarded the bus to head home. Her experience is not unique for 180 million Americans who have been methodically excluded from the new car market by an industry that feels that luxury amenities are necessities and that working families do not merit good transportation. The economic fact is stark and deliberate. While the sticker price for a brand new pickup truck averages $65,000, the median income for American families is $55,000. That leaves the average American family having to shell out over their entire pre-tax annual salary to purchase a new truck. This isn't an exercise in market forces, but market manipulation. Mike Rodriguez learned the cruel lesson the hard way. Being a contractor in Columbus, Ohio, he was extremely in need of a truck to move equipment, materials, and tools. His 2008 F-150, with 240,000 miles, was running on fumes, held together by nothing more than prayer and duct tape. "I visited every dealer in town," Mike explained from his kitchen after another long day of coaxing his sick truck to job sites. Regardless of whether it was Ford, Chevy, Ram, or Toyota, the cheapest work truck he could find was $45,000, a stripped-down model with vinyl seats and manual windows. The $847 a month payment was higher than his mortgage payment. Dealers looked at him like he was crazy when he said that he somehow would be able to afford a truck. Mike's response rang with frustration. "I'm a contractor. I literally construct houses, but I can't even afford the truck I need in order to do my work." Mike's case is not an exception. All over America, electricians, plumbers, gardeners, and many small business owners still drive cars with 200,000 plus miles on them because the other option means financial ruin. However, what really reveals the practices of the industry becomes clear when one looks at the true costs versus the retail prices of different amenities. Dealerships highlight value with heated steering wheels, massaging seats, panoramic sunroofs, and ambient lighting systems with 64 mood-based color selections. Luxury vehicle features show dramatic markup percentages ranging from 1,089% to 6,566%, with heated cup holders having the highest markup despite their relatively low manufacturing cost of $12. while the 20-inch touchscreen shows the lowest markup at £1,289% despite being the most expensive feature to manufacture at $180. These markups aren't 50% or even 100%. They're 2,000% to 6,000%. Instead of selling people transportation, dealerships are selling the world's most expensive cup holders. But the hustle isn't just at the feature level. It's a full-bore business model hustle. Modern vehicles have an astounding array of cutting-edge technology, featuring over 100 microprocessors with a combined computer power bigger than the Apollo missions that successfully landed men on the moon. The question then is all this high-tech sophistication truly necessary for the hauling of timber? Every one of those dozens of processors is not only a possible failure point, but also an irreducible cost of repair, necessitating returns to dealerships where they must incur fixed costs of maintenance. The contemporary automobile is the pinnacle of unheard-of manufacturing complexity, comprising some 30,000 separate components, each a potential individual cause of mechanical breakdown. When breakdowns inevitably arise, automobile owners have limited options. They cannot repair the vehicles themselves or seek the services of independent mechanics. They are reduced instead to returning to authorized dealerships, where they lack negotiating clout when it comes to repair expenses. Far from actual innovation, this is rather a calculated obsolescence, cleverly masked by enormous promotional campaigns. All remember a simpler era in automotive history, when trucks were maintained with basic tools and retailed for some $8,000 in today's currency, yet transported their owners dependably for well over 300,000 miles. That kind of simple, dependable vehicle would be absolutely impossible to purchase in the market today, not because consumers are uninterested, but because the auto manufacturers have systematically eliminated all affordable models from their offerings. This business decision rests upon a straightforward reality. Simple, robust automobiles provide thinner profit margins than do complex, highly featured vehicles. The automotive market has established a successful myth that complexity is equal to quality, and that simplicity results in lower quality design. This argument is perhaps the largest fiction in American manufacturing history. Sarah Martinez doesn't require hot drink holders. Mike Rodriguez isn't interested in ambient interior lighting. What these shoppers really need is reliable transportation for a cost that does not force them to choose between making truck payments every month and their children's education at college. However, decades of indefatigable conditions by the car industry have led many to believe that they're being unreasonable in expecting this most basic value. What happens when a bold startup stops playing by Detroit's rules and builds a truck the old-school way, rugged, simple, and cheap? Could this factory in Indiana flip the script? The founding principles and vision. It all changed when a cutting-edge startup posed a sharp question that could destabilize the entire $50,000 truck paradigm. What if we simply removed unneeded features? What if we did not install heated cup holders and 20-inch touchscreen displays? What if we built vehicles that did not require specialized computers to simply determine a loose gas cap? Suppose we approached truck building the same lean, cost-cutting way Amazon does business, eliminating frills while maintaining pure functionality and passing the savings on to the customer. The solution to this problem lies in an Indiana factory poised to change the entire auto industry. Slate Auto's corporate office resides in a modest office building in Troy, Michigan, deliberately avoiding the glitzy showrooms and chrome and glass monoliths typically associated with Detroit's automobile culture. Instead, customers are faced with a plain entrance marked by a simple sign and a parking lot filled with functional pickup trucks that provide a stark contrast to the conventional vehicles Detroit has produced for decades. Inside these humble offices, I had the chance to interview Rod Romer, whose incredible 25-year career in Ram truck development concluded with a bold career move, defying Stellantis to become part of this relatively newfangled startup company. His desk is a testament to his technical acumen, with engineering drawings and pictures of prototype models glued onto the walls around one framed Jeff Bezos, quote, "Your margin is my opportunity." That particular quote, Rod illustrated while nodding toward a cross-sectional model of the Slate truck's frame, encapsulates their underlying philosophy. Whereas the existing auto industry has long focused on achieving maximum profit margins, Slate Auto has pursued a diametrically opposite strategy, maximizing authentic customer value. This is a reflection of two fundamentally incommensurable problem-solving mindsets. Rod is not spearheading this vision alone. Slate Auto has assembled a team of about 500 professionals, the majority hailing from industry leaders such as Ford, GM, Tesla, and Ram. These engineers and designers weren't merely in search of new talent. They were driven by anger at being instructed to cram on features that customers didn't necessarily want. They wanted to make cars that fix actual problems, rather than create new ones. Investment and industry impact. But the true significance of Slate Auto's story isn't its recruitment drive, but its capitalization. Later in 2023, Jeff Bezos himself led a big $100 million round of funding with Bezos Expeditions, his own private investment firm, notorious for its visionary investments in Google, Uber, and Airbnb, when these companies were still unknown to the public. As Rod described it, Bezos has a key realization that has eluded Detroit's traditional manufacturers. He realizes how the same rules that revolutionized retail can also transform the auto industry. The Amazon model of auto manufacturing begins with a very simple question. What if the efficiency of e-commerce were applied to producing cars? The ensuing revolution is all the more remarkable. Traditional automakers spend about $350 million to construct elaborate paint shops for each factory. Slate Auto eliminated painting altogether, employing unpainted plastic body panels that customers can wrap, customize, or leave in their natural state. Their revolutionary approach stretches far beyond paint to color, while most manufacturers charge 30% markups from component makers. Slate Auto draws from Amazon's global supply chain to obtain parts at wholesale prices. Old-fashioned automakers rely on dealerships that charge $5,000 to $10,000 in markup. Slate Auto operates a direct-to-consumer sales system, with cars delivered right onto customers' driveways. The old-line makers have numerous optional trim levels and packages. Slate Auto offers one base model and allows the customer to specify precisely what they desire. "We examined every cost along the auto supply chain," said Rod, "and asked ourselves if it added value to the consumer or merely profit to middlemen." His conclusion was enlightening. A lot of it was for the middlemen. The result is revealing. While Ford's F-150 Lightning begins at $65,000, Slate's hybrid pickup begins at $20,000, with comparable capability and safety ratings for one-third the cost. Perhaps the most compelling thing is not what Slate Auto added to their car design, but what they most pointedly omitted. Unlike competitors, the Slate truck does not have a touchscreen. Instead, there is a bracket specially designed for the smartphone devices that customers already own. The rationale for this is based on practicality. Individual smartphones have superior software, superior processors, and better applications than any automobile infotainment system. Furthermore, smartphones update themselves automatically and never become outdated, and there is zero added cost to consumers who already possess them. The truck features manual windows rather than power windows, not due to cost constraints, but because manual windows never break, work reliably in the case of battery death, save around $800 per vehicle, and eliminate a common point of failure that sends thousands of customers to dealerships each year. The Slate truck also features steel wheels with removable hubcaps, chosen not for appearance, but for their increased strength, lower replacement cost, and old-fashioned practicality. Rod outlined how every design decision is an intentional sacrifice of long-term value against short-term profit. Power windows generate service revenue but require upkeep. Manual windows operate smoothly without complaint. Touchscreens become obsolete and must be replaced. Phone holders easily accommodate whatever device the user chooses. This practical ethic extends to the powertrain itself, as Slate Auto diverges from the standard in its industry. While Tesla targets only full electric vehicles and traditional manufacturers hedge with complex hybrid configurations, Slate Auto opted for the clean, efficiency-driven hybrid route, with a priority on reliability rather than performance parameters. Technical specifications attest to the utilitarian approach: 201 horsepower, 195 pound-feet of torque, and 8 seconds to 0, 60 miles per hour. Numbers that, while far from record-breaking, are more than sufficient for everyday practicality. The hybrid powertrain achieves better than 40 miles per gallon in city driving with zero range anxiety. 2 battery options maintain simplicity: 53 kilowatt-hours for 150 miles of electric range, or 84 kilowatt-hours for 240 miles. Both will support fast charging, but the hybrid engine eliminates the possibility of getting stranded when there isn't infrastructure to charge it. "We're not looking to make the most expensive truck or the fastest truck," Rod explained. "We're trying to make the most utilitarian truck for the best price." This unstinting philosophy, combined with their outside-the-box approach to manufacturing and distribution, makes Slate Auto a disruptive influence in the car world. An influence that may revolutionize the manner in which cars are conceived, manufactured, and sold to consumers. Rather than constructing a conventional motor vehicle mega factory, Slate went with a new production strategy by acquiring and refitting an abandoned printing complex in Warsaw, Indiana. The decision resulted in a factory occupying roughly 1/4 of the physical space at Tesla's Fremont plant, but it is still capable of producing 150,000 automobiles annually with 2,000 employees. The underlying philosophy of this streamlined approach is revealed in the manufacturing process. Every car leaving the assembly line has the same spec, significantly reducing manufacturing complexity. The opposite of traditional producers with multiple configurations to address, Slate reduces several levels of operational complexity. There are no groups of optional equipment packages to manage, no trim-level variations to contend with, and no complex scheduling algorithms to optimize. Instead, the factory specializes in refining the production of a single model so that buyers can add customization once they receive their vehicles. It's apparent that this approach overtly represents Slate's Amazon-like business model. While traditional automakers make buyers choose between pre-configured sets of options, Slate offers modular accessories that buyers can install themselves or have locally installed. For instance, people who want to enhance audio performance can purchase speakers online and install them in 13 minutes. Storage configurations are in the dozens, with snap-in designs making it easy to integrate. Even cosmetic changes to the exterior are facilitated, as owners can purchase wrap kits and completely transform their truck's appearance in an afternoon. As Rod explained, "We're not selling trucks. We're providing customers with a platform that they can build on as their needs change." The implications of this strategy are tremendous. Rather than trading in their trucks every few years, customers can enhance them. Rather than being committed to manufacturers' set specs, customers can customize to their specifications. In contrast to traditional cars, which depreciate the instant they are bought, Slate's trucks gain value as owners add capabilities. The actual revolutionary aspect of this approach, though, is not technical but epistemological. Old-line manufacturers generally consider customers to be profit centers to be squeezed, but Slate sees them as real problems to be solved with practical solutions. While old-line manufacturers maximize quarterly profit margins, Slate maximizes long-term customer value. As Jeff underscored, customer centricity isn't just the right thing to do, it's good business sense. When businesses solve real problems for a reasonable price, customers naturally become brand promoters. brand promoters are more valuable than any traditional marketing program. Early indications confirm that Slate's unconventional strategy is true. Despite minimal advertising, the firm has received over 50,000 reservations, all created with a modest $50 deposit. The reservations list contains a diverse range of customers, including contractors, small business owners, and families who had already lost hope of purchasing new cars. As good as it is, the true test wasn't quantified by reservation numbers alone. It was in mainstream car makers' response. Ford recently accelerated its development timeline for affordable cars, which is a significant shift from its market strategy. At the same time, General Motors announced a new focus on value engineering concepts, and Tesla began discussing how it would create an affordable $25,000 vehicle. When industry leaders begin to follow in your footsteps before you have even introduced your first product to the market, it's a good indication that you're doing something revolutionary. Slate didn't just spark a price war, it sparked a mindset shift. What if owning a truck meant full control, modular freedom, and zero dealership nonsense? Could this redefine vehicle ownership forever? Customer-centric philosophy and disruption. The most groundbreaking aspect of the Slate truck far surpasses its price point or the extensive list of features that it offers. It lies in the paradigm-shifting possibility that gets unleashed the very instant that a purchaser opts to purchase it. Rather than simply rethinking and remaking the traditional modes of making trucks, Slate has taken it one step further by actually resetting and transforming the whole realm of what a truck can fundamentally be and represent. Mike Rodriguez showcased his innovative ideas on a Saturday morning in October. He stood in his driveway with nothing other than a set of hex keys laid out in front of him and stared intently at what seemed like a massive project that resembled a giant IKEA build-out. Not like ordinary furniture construction, one might assume. However, this ambitious project was about to convert his $20,000 pickup truck into a spacious 5-passenger SUV. His wife couldn't help but maintain the skepticism, remarking in a tone of disbelief, "Ordinary people don't just go and rebuild their cars out in the driveway for the whole world to see." To her remark, Mike half-heartedly laughed, admitting, "But what I'm doing here isn't really a proper rebuild. I honestly don't even know how to classify what this process actually is." What Mike did, without a doubt, put center stage perhaps the most radical and innovative feature that the Slate truck has to offer, its revolutionary transformation system. By deliberately adding an extra $800 worth of meticulously chosen bolt-on accessories, as well as just a handful of simple tools one would typically find in his or her garage, this pickup truck could transition into one of 3 different forms effortlessly and smoothly. An SUV, a high-style crossover, or even a playful and adventurous beach buggy. What is significant here is that no other car currently available for purchase in the market can rival or match the tremendous flexibility and versatility that this incredible truck offers. Slate achieved this remarkable and record level of flexibility by systematically stripping away everything that was deemed extraneous and unnecessary with ruthless efficiency. The initial observation that eludes most individuals is precisely which features and elements are conspicuously absent in the design. Slate's designer, Rod Romer, elaborated on this element by declaring, "No power windows, no touchscreen, and no carpet." But it needs to be understood that this exercise was not so much an exercise in penny pinching or a budget-cutting initiative. Rather, it was a sincerely well-considered and purposeful engineering philosophy. Every eliminated individual trait had a definite and distinctive role. The exclusion of power windows from the design was intentional, as they tend to fail when they are exposed to severe weather elements. Additionally, repairs that must be performed to fix these windows can also be extremely costly, with repair expenses possibly reaching up to $180. Mike could easily roll down his manual windows instead of having to shell out a hefty repair bill of $400. Car infotainment systems were deemed unfit for use because they tend to get outdated a rapid manner and are typically perceived as clunky and difficult to use efficiently. Rather than resorting to other options, Slate decided to use a forever upgradable and cheap universal phone holder that will get the job done. They employed traditional paint finishes instead of incorporating plastic panels that are well known for their resistance to rust and chipping. The cost to have these panels wrapped would be around $400, which is a reasonable investment. Mike, as it turned out, had already carefully designed his camouflage pattern, one intended for the upcoming hunting season. Steel wheels have been showing a better level of durability and longer life expectancy than their alloy-based counterparts. Mike had already been experiencing some issues with his wheels that resulted in damage, but unlike the more fragile alloy rims, this particular circumstance was not considered a serious problem whatsoever. The carpeting was removed and cut from the area since it tends to hold unpleasant odors along with stubborn stains. Composite floors were specially made water-resistant floors that possessed the incredible ability to be cleaned by merely spraying them down with a hose. When Mike accidentally spilled a mix of oil, coffee, and concrete, there was simply no reason for anyone to worry or stress over it. Every removal was a removal of points of potential failure. As Rod said, whereas power windows get busted, manual ones don't. Whereas paint gets worn out, wraps can be replaced. Mike's conversion began at 9 in the morning. He removed the rear window, unbolted the cab's bulkhead, put in the back seat, and placed the SUV section on it with just 8 bolts. At exactly 11:30, his transportation of preference was an SUV that could seat 5 people, which provided ample passenger interior space. The entirety of the toolkit he owned was, unfortunately, no more than a set of hex keys and 1 socket wrench. "It's still my truck," Mike said in a matter-of-fact tone as he walked around his recently redesigned vehicle. "But now we can take the whole family on vacation, and just so you know, we'll be backing it in next week." Modular platform and design flexibility. The Slate works because it's made to be a platform, not a product. The safety structure, powertrain, and chassis are fixed, but the rest is modifiable. Want a crossover? Just swap in a different body section. Want a van? Add a cargo shell. Want a buggy? Lighten it up and add roll bars. As Rod more or less put it, legacy automakers want to sell you 3 cars. We sell one that becomes 3. This philosophy is carried through to interior customization using a rail system exclusive to modular items. For daily use, Mike had equipped his vehicle with a laptop mount bracket, toolbox, and coffee cup holder. For road trips, he would swap these out with screens and storage compartments. As he described, "It's a truck that grows with your life." His own life was the template. Having initially purchased the truck as a single person who needed utility space, he now had children who needed extra passenger space. Eventually, he might opt for something sporty. Slate's lean aesthetic streamlines manufacturing, no combination of trim levels to manage, just 1 chassis, 1 power plant, and 1 assembly line. Buyers customize afterward, allowing them to redefine their cars on an ongoing basis as requirements and preferences shift. This is an inversion of the fixed configuration automobile design paradigm in favor of dynamic, user-configurable platforms that shift as their owners' lives shift. Slate Automotive has become a revolutionary force in the auto industry, beginning with a modest but strategic investment of $12 million at their Indiana facility. While this amount might seem modest compared to the billions Ford and Tesla have invested in their factories, Slate's approach is based on a different philosophy. "We're not building the most high-tech factory," Rod said. "We're building the most efficient one." But, he said, the ultimate test of success lies outside the factory building. It's in on-the-ground operation and street-level utility. This ideology can be seen in vehicles like Mike's truck, which has endured 18,000 miles under stressful conditions like heavy hauling and off-road travel. The plastic panels remain intact, and the modular components remain in perfect working condition after 8 rebuilds. As Mike has explained, they built it to be taken apart and rebuilt. Perhaps the most groundbreaking aspect of Slate's design is its emphasis on modularity. the limitations of traditional automakers. For a while now, traditional builders have been faced with numerous difficulties in accepting modular designs, primarily due to the constantly rising expenses that they have to endure. A particular engineer at Ford even openly admitted that his group struggled to make modularity cost-effective without noticing a hike in price. In contrast to this common predicament, however, Slate responded to the issue differently with an innovative approach. "We simplified rather than complicated," Rod emphasized, expressing their desire to simplify the process. At the very core of Slate's revolutionary and visionary model is a revolutionary redefinition of the traditional understanding of car ownership. Their innovative model effectively dismantles the long-standing oligopoly that dealerships have had over automotive service, liberating car owners from the restrictions to perform routine maintenance tasks on their vehicles, using basic tools they most likely already possess. Alternatively, owners are also given the option to have their cars serviced by any reputable local mechanic of their preference, rather than being restricted to the dealership. On top of this, the company strategically utilizes ubiquitously available, off-the-shelf components for vital features like door handles and headlights, making these parts easily procurable at standard auto parts shops, thereby rendering car maintenance easy and accessible to everyone. Whereas this particular trend does hold a good possibility of eroding the profitability traditional dealers have long relied upon, founded chiefly on service operations, it is nevertheless a significant move toward a consumer-driven market. Mike Rodriguez is a welcome break from conventional customer relationship approaches in the traditional car business, basically forsaking the outdated business models that have long dominated this industry. His acquisition of the $20,000 Slate truck has been life-changing, allowing him to break free from the dependence on dealership service departments, which so often lead to an introduction to a never-ending cycle of costly upgrades that traditionally drive automotive profitability. This innovative vehicle now allows him the ability to customize his truck to his personal preferences, make repairs with standard tools available to everyone, and adapt the vehicle to fit his changing lifestyle and requirements, with no need to replace his truck every few years as once required. What happens when customers like Mike no longer need dealerships, upgrades, or trade-ins to stay satisfied? Could Slate's radical simplicity finally force automakers to surrender their grip on control? Slate's approach to simplification and customer sovereignty. The auto industry has rested on the theory that to be more complex is to be better, meaning that the uncomplicated things must be of a lower grade. Slate Auto shattered this convention by streamlining without compromising on anything essential, focusing on three core principles: reliability, affordability, and flexibility. And what is produced is nothing short of groundbreaking, an honest truck for sale at an honest price. Jeff Bezos's $100 million investment in Slate is not just an infusion of cash into an automaker. It is a radical challenge to an industry that had forgotten its number one reason for being: customers first, not profits first. The market appears ready to embrace this disruption, as the enormous 50,000 reservations placed with very little advertising confirm. As the company evolves, Slate's acceptance of simplicity, openness, and customer sovereignty as a keystone approach is a potent counter to traditional automobile manufacturing culture. And that brings us to the end of today's deep dive. The story of the Slate truck isn't just about affordability, but about reclaiming control and proving that simplicity still has a place in a complex world. What's your take? Is this the future of vehicles or just a temporary disruption?